Right, we want also to let our panelists weigh in on this story that we've run for you this morning, and of course discussing a raft of issues as well. I want to introduce to you this morning Honorable Jeremiah Kioni, who is a candidate for Daragwa, and Jubilee candidate for Daragwa. We do have also with us Professor Richard Bosire, who is a political scientist from the University of Nairobi. We have with us Professor Anyang Nyong'o, who is the senator from Kisumu. Also, we do have with us Balozi Kembi Gitura, who is a senator from Murang'a. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning, morning.
Right, thank you for joining us this morning. And of course, a lot has been happening the week that has passed, and of course over the weekend as well. And there are bugbears and fears as far as attention is concerned, as we're heading towards the general election. Only 7 days to go. Maybe we should begin with you, Jeremiah Kioni. What are you reading? Of course, looking at the front page of the Daily Nation of the puzzle of the intruder that, you know, intruded the house of Deputy President William Ruto. Many are saying this was stage managed. Many are saying this doesn't make any leak of sense. Things don't really add up. What do you read?
I think, Debarl, I think the most important thing is to ensure that the happenings that are, or the goings on in the last 1 week don't add up to the tension or don't heighten the tension in the country. This presence of a hawker within the compound of the Deputy President's rural home certainly raises question, but at times you also don't want to read too much into it. World over, we have seen mad men just get even within the compounds of White House. So I don't know, it took a while to get him out of it, but maybe we don't want to read too much into it. If it's just a person with a machete, could have been a madman, and it is possible to get yourself in some corners and create unnecessary havoc. Just attention. I don't want to read too much into it.
All right. You don't want to read too much into it. Let's hear from Professor Bosire. What do you
Dr.
read?
Bosire.
Dr. Bosire, thank
yes.
you.
I think it's laughable for me because we know that in any security of a VIP like you know, Deputy President, there must be sufficient security even at the gate. The story does not add up because you look at it that this man with the machete attacks a single police officer or security man and then accesses the residence. I thought from my little knowledge or background, at least you must have 2 police officers on duty. You cannot just have 1 police officer. And the disarming of just a single police officer at a residence, a high security target like that, I think it doesn't add up. And I've also heard what the Deputy President has commented about the issue. He again gives a political rather than a security interpretation. I would think that this is one of those issues that, of course, send a wrong message to the Kenyan public that we can be that vulnerable. But at the same time, it sends a message that it could have something to do with politics.
All right, let's hear from Professor Anyang Nyong'o.
Morning, Anea.
Morning,
my friends. Well, I think there must be CCTVs in it at the Deputy President's compound. We should pick up any insects flying around and make sure that things are safe. Well, first, if I were the security agencies, I would go to the CCTVs, find out what was happening on the compound before the newspapers start speculating on all kinds of things. I think that's the first thing, get the facts right. As Jeremiah says, after you've gotten the facts right, you should not make a hullabaloo about it. But secondly, the fact that there's a hullabaloo, then you say, well, why the hullabaloo? Why don't we go the professional way and dispose of this issue promptly? The hullabaloo, once it starts, takes a political angle. And it can have many interpretations. One interpretation, well, this was stage managed to seek sympathy. There's one. Secondly, the military there is rather weak in defending the Deputy President compound, so they were nonchalant in dealing with the issue. The third interpretation is that there might have been a mutiny. I mean, maybe the people are not well fed, somebody came with the meat. I mean, look, so unless you get the facts right.
I expect that to come from you.
No, I mean, look, once you don't get the facts right, then all kinds of speculation, because meat is involved, you know. The next thing you hear, hunger is involved. So I think I agree with Jeremiah. Let's get the facts right from the CCTVs first, see what was happening. Then the military personnel there can be interviewed. I mean, these things should have already been done, and the military intelligence should be briefing us on a regular basis, rather than letting the story run on and on and on without the public getting to know the real facts. So I think somebody is letting us down here. The military experts in charge of intelligence and security, they're letting us down. Or if it's not the military, I think maybe the APs, whoever is there, because I know that usually the APs guard VIPs' homes. In this case, it could be different.
Yes, yes.
So I think that at that level, I mean, at our level with the Deputy Speaker, we don't have CCTVs, just have APs standing in our gates. Quite often not very efficiently, but that's another story. But I think it's much higher than that. The step, the rank of security surveillance is much higher. So that's what we need to get to know, and then everything will be fine, rather than let the story run for too many days with too much speculation.
All right, let's hear from Balozi. Balozi, what are you reading?
Nothing.
Nothing? Not even the hawking of meat that professors are alluding to?
My view, of course, is that I don't have any facts at all. And I normally don't like to speculate on things I don't understand. We are reading from the papers, Puzzle of a Hawker in Fierce Gunfight. I don't know what it is all about. I frankly have not been following this too closely myself. Yeah, and maybe before I even comment on this, I should first of all greet the people who are watching us this morning, because this being I believe the last Monday that we are going to be here before the elections, because the next Monday will be the one just going next to the elections. I'd like to thank you, Debarl, for the opportunity to come and discuss these very important issues in the nation. And I want to thank also the viewers, because I'm sure lots and lots of people follow us on this. I want to greet them this morning and tell them that all of us are now looking forward to the 8th of August, when the elections will finally be held. We've waited for them for too long. But on the issue of the Deputy President's house, I'd rather not comment, because, like I said, I don't want to speculate. I don't have the facts. But I think, like my colleagues, my friends have said, sometimes we read too much into issues like this. People have started speculating, stage managed, and all these other things. I don't know why they want to do this. I think the best thing is that we wait for the results. I'm sure we're going to get some results of the investigations, and this matter will be put to rest. So I don't think it's a matter that we should maybe spend too much time on, if you ask me.
All right, so we shouldn't spend too much time on it, but we need to also probe deeper a bit before we let it fly. The issue of, this particular compound was under siege for almost 20 hours, right? And people are asking, we had specially trained officers, the contingent officers also in this particular compound. How can one man put this highly trained specialist for over 20 hours, without putting down the man, bearing the fact that also he's a hawker? Dr. Bosire.
As they say, there is no data out there to base our arguments. But also, one could, make certain deductions about what's going on. In fact, for me, this reminds me of what happened during Garissa, that a few individuals storm the university and kill hundreds of students while we're waiting for some elite forces to come from Nairobi. I mean, I don't know if we ever learn our lessons. Although the rest of my colleagues here are politicians, I'm not a politician. And I think when we look at our security and our vulnerability as Kenyan people, if a single individual goes into a place and does that, what if this was just a hotel in town? Or a marketplace, open marketplace where people are selling? A person can kill hundreds, and the poor response of the security forces. I mean, I know we have trained personnel. But I don't understand how they could take a whole 20 hours to get access to a single individual, to a building that belongs to the Deputy President. They must be aware that people work there, so the surveillance must have been, they know all corners in that building. How could they take all that time? They must have seen a single individual going there. Then they speculate there are 3. I mean, I don't understand it. I would say, generally, that what we are seeing is still a wake-up call that our security forces need to do their work more smartly, particularly those who are taking care of our internal security.
Professor Anyang Nyong'o, let's hear from you. 20 hours?
20 hours for?
The security personnel actually, they didn't manage to put down the man.
I'm not quite sure. I'm not quite sure about all these stories, by the way, 20 hours and so on. I don't understand how, quite honestly, I don't understand, because Deputy President home is very well guarded. This one lone hawker with meat, how can he hold a whole army? You know, I mean, what defense mechanism did he have? So, how dangerous was he? Laced with bombs or with explosives and so on? So even 20 hours, I don't believe myself. I think these hours are created. Yeah, I think they're just created.
Well, Jeremiah Kioni.
No, I just wanted to say again, without any details, it's difficult to say much, but you also don't want to lose police officers in this kind of a thing. So they may take a while just to, it's more costly to lose a trained officer who must have costed us a lot of money. And you're losing a trained officer to a hawker with a machete. So I wouldn't want to be worried about the time they took. Of course, there's a lot can be said much later. But for now, I think it is just important to say that it's good that they didn't just rush in to get killed by a person who has no training. So I think it would have been more embarrassing to have lost 20 officers to a hawker. I'd rather they spent more time and just get him out without us losing an officer.
All right.
But you see, it's all speculation, don't you?
Yeah.
And nobody here has any
facts.
can tell you, can give you any facts.
But the fact he was seen actually pictures that he had a military fatigue. I wonder where he got the military fatigue.
Well, I mean, that is very simple. I mean, we see people in our rallies with military fatigue. I mean,
well, this looks like a genuine military fatigue.
No, look at my friend, the MP for Mbakazi, what is his name? The Asian guy. Sumra. Sumra always has a very convincing military fatigue. I asked him, where did he get it? He said he bought it in Gikomba. I mean.
Okay, so I want also to tie this in with the security in the country as well as we're heading towards general election. And I want to draw also maybe from the piece that you wrote, Honorable Anyang Nyong'o, D-Day looms. This is actually was in the Star over the weekend. D-Day looms, center isn't holding, and you say Jubilee panics and state spreads fear.
Yeah, well, you know, even today there's a very good article in the Star, by the way. That's why I was asking for the Star. There's a very good article on the Star, which we should read because I think it has some wisdom. Can't quite remember where it is, but it is one of these opinions. Yeah, a comment by a guy called Robert Owiti, which talk intimidation goes before oblivion.
All right, this is today's Star.
Today's Star, page 19. You see, when I saw that article on the headlines of The Nation some time ago, page 19, there's an opinion there by a guy called Robert Owiti.
Yes.
Maybe you can get it.
Yeah, just continue as I'm looking for it.
When I saw that article, the headlines of The Nation, I was actually shocked because it came out of nowhere with the Inspector General of Police visage and a whole equipment of various equipment, military equipment, tanks, whatnot. And then he says, I'm ready for you. So I was curious. I started reading the headlines. I thought he was ready for the Al-Shabaab. No, he was not ready for the Al-Shabaab. He was ready for the electorate. Now, these are ordinary Kenyans preparing to go and vote. Why should you come with the armory right on the top of the daily newspaper saying, I'm ready for you? I remember even during the days of Daniel Arap Moi, when he held our first election in 1992 December, a very controversial election because it was the first multi-party election. There were no military anywhere. And even after that, the counting of votes were never accompanied by a heavy presence of APs, except for one by-election in Lugari, where we went to the tallying center, were counting, and before the counting was over, the APs stormed the thing and we were all thrown away, and we ran in all kinds of directions. And then after that, the returning officer announced the results, because Kanu won, because the APs had stormed in and broken the counting. That's the only incident I remember really in those days, which was a heavy APs presence, not military. Now, I think it is important really in establishing a democratic culture, that free and fair elections mean that citizens are given space by the state to elect their leaders. Very simple. And that when there's a presence of any security, and this happens in elections all the time, like the last time we had a by-election in Homa Bay for the Senate seat when Senator Kajwang died. I mean, it was a very controversial by-election, but at the polling station, there's just 2 APs in every polling station. Because once people enter a polling station in this country, Kenyans are very faithful to vote, by the way. They don't focus on anything else. I remember another by-election in 1966, the little general election when the KPU broke out from KANU. I mean, KANU was determined to wipe out KPU. But on election day, the only people who were present there were policemen, standing, about 2 policemen per police station, standing and keeping guard if anything should happen. But I think this idea of demonstrating armament and telling Kenyans, we are ready for you, to me, I don't think it's good for democracy. Mm-hmm. And I think at this point in time, the reason why I like Owiti's article, it's like me, he's saying, look, speaking peace with daggers in our teeth and infinite scorn embedded in our hearts is not helpful either. I think at this point in time, what we should do, get out the facts of what's happening. I mean, like in my county, the head of the AP is a man called Kaitanyi. Mm-hmm. He's actually extremely dangerous man. He should not be there before the election because, first of all, he's in bed with the governor. They are plotting every day with returning officers, presiding officers to subvert the election in favor of the governor. This is no good. He's a civil servant. He should be civil. And if he's indeed interfering, and I have evidence that he's interfering, and I'm going to take that evidence to the president's office today. I was calling Kenya over the weekend. I couldn't get him. I'm taking to the Inspector General of Police and with a copy to the IBC that the state should keep off and only provide security as requested by IBC. And IBC officials should not sit down with security officials plotting rigging of the election. And we have evidence because people were there. I'm also going to be seeing some observers this morning about this because I think this is one of the things they should observe. All kinds of candidates, not just in our areas, are going to be affected. Independents, like my friend, the deputy speaker here, who knows? I mean, somebody can brand him that he's anti-Jubilee and then begin using the state to stop people voting for him. This is no good. Mm-hmm. I think we should give every Kenyan the right to be elected and every Kenyan the right to elect whoever he likes. Whether you like those people politically or not, it doesn't matter. This constitution gives every Kenyan the right to elect the person they want in an election.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's hear from Honorable Kioni. First of all, I think because we are moving to the general election, it seems like a lot of the military, or not really the military personnel, the security personnel are being moved to different parts of the country. Very, very, very huge numbers that we're being told. But what we are still wondering is, what about the key installations that we have in this country, like the dams that we know the security personnel are supposed to be watching over, you know, the power installation farms that we have around as well. These are very key, pivotal infrastructure that I think also the security personnel should be getting, you know. When we have limited numbers of the security personnel being left there and a lot of them being deployed, you know, to the polling stations, then aren't we just exposing also our vulnerabilities?
I agree, Debarl, but I think we also need to make sure that we don't forget what we've gone through in the past. This 2007 debacle keeps haunting us, and we would remain fearful of a similar happening in the future for a long time. And it's for that reason that we must, though we don't want the police officers or the army or anybody in the forces intimidating a voter, I think it is also necessary that we are confident that security is available and we cannot get to where we were in 2008. And I think we, the politicians, and especially those who are seeking the leadership of the nation, need to be at the forefront to create or give, allow people to have the confidence that there will be a peaceful process. I would be keen to hear the NASA leadership taking the same pledges that have been taken by Jubilee on maintaining peace during the voting process. This issue of saying that you are going to have a parallel voting system, a parallel tallying system. We have had NASA saying that they would want 5 officers within every polling station to ensure that their votes are taken care of. All these kind of things that seems to bring some controversies, create an impression that that calls for some presence of police force. And I think if all of us was to just like we did 2013, there was a call from everybody, and everybody pledged to a peaceful process, accepting the results without conditionality. That would help us easing the tension. But for as long as we are fearful of confrontation from some quarters, that presence of the police force may be necessary. But I agree, Debarl, and maybe that is why we also need the army to come in and make sure that our installations are also protected, because we don't want them attacked or misused during those times. But again, that's why what the president took an oath to do, to protect the nation, to protect the people. And I am sure they are doing it the best way possible. Certainly, I would be fearful if the voters are intimidated. It should be done in a manner that it doesn't intimidate the voter, but gives the voter confidence and courage to come out and vote. Yes.
All right. Let's hear from Dr. Bosire.
I think the issue of deployments out there has been controversial. To what extent are we deploying? Because to have a free and fair election, free, fair, and credible election, we must have an environment that is conducive. And this environment should be built over time. But in our country, unfortunately, when we get close to elections is when we start building this and saying, let it be peaceful and all that. And if we have an unjust system, we conduct ourselves in such a way that we do not respect each other, we do not respect the rule of law, we want to depend on rigging of elections, then we create an environment that is not, or that is full of mistrust, that anything done from either side, whether the opposition or done by the government, it seems to be really still spoiling the environment. I want to say also that police presence, if not limited to just to keep vigil and actually let the people do their voting, I think would be okay. We have seen where we have 2-4 police officers standing by as people are queuing and voting. It goes on well, and actually we have the votes done. I mean the voting done. But if we have a huge contingents at the polling stations, definitely those who do not have the guts to go to the lines will not come. That will, will intimidate. I've heard some people talk about even security people in the security circles saying they will deploy to various hotspots. I heard that Kisii is also a hotspot. I've never known that Kisii is a hotspot. 2007, as Mheshimiwa Kioni was saying, we saw what happened. Kisii was very peaceful. I voted in Kisii. There are people still trading as we went on with the violence. There was no problem. The Kikuyus trading Kisii, Luos, Luyas, Maasais, all manner of people, and it was very peaceful. So when the security forces or the chief of security says they're deploying to these places, I think it might spoil the atmosphere further. Election rigging, for me, is the greatest enemy of our democracy. And that is why you see at a time like this, we are saying we're only going to maintain the security, put the police there, without ensuring that within 5 years, we should have actually created this environment that we can trust each other. We can go out there and vote. Whoever wins, we don't care, but let the best person win. And I think there are other issues like bribery, which we don't talk about, the intimidation from politicians or civilians also, which we do not talk about. This also spoils the environment for democracy. And I think the deployment of excessive forces is going to undermine our democracy. People might not turn out to vote in large numbers.
Thank you. Right, let's leave it at that point. We want to take a short break right now. When we come back, of course, we continue with that story and a lot of other issues as well here on This Is a Point AM Live. Remember, you can chime in. Hit us on Twitter. AM Live NTV is a Twitter handle. AM Live NTV, our profile name on Facebook, and 20505, our SMS portal. Don't go away. Much more coming up on the other side of the break.